Welcome to Find Your Strong, the podcast that's here to help you free yourself from food rules, fitness guilt, and those weird detox teas.
Oh, do not get me started, Ella.
All right, I won't. I'm Ella, nutritionist and intuitive eating counselor.
And I'm Christine, personal trainer, intuitive eating counselor, and your hype woman for joyful movement.
You are, woohoo! Together we talk to experts, share stories, and hopefully leave you feeling a bit more at home in your body.
So if you're ready, let's find your strong. Hi.
Hello, you okay?
How are we doing? Yes, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm out of my cast. I'm in a splint, so I'm feeling very optimistic today.
Oh, so for anybody listening and not watching, Ella broke her wrist quite badly when she was skiing, but not actually skiing.
Don't say
So
that. I was on a black slope and I got tackled. That's what we agreed on. That's the story, right?
That's what, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm really glad.
Yes.
We were thinking, what should we talk about today to you lovely people? And I mean, there's so much we could talk about. There's so much. Just had the Oscars last night, so obviously we could talk about all of that. But we'll leave that to another week. Very excited about Michael B. Jordan winning the Oscar rather than Timothy Chalamet.
Well deserved. Have you seen the film?
Yeah. I haven't. Is it good?
Oh my God, it's bizarre but so good. It's such a cool story. It's really, really good.
I mean, he is fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah. He plays twins. Just him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's a really good film.
Is it scary?
Well, it's meant to be scary. It's got vampires, so if you're scared of vampires, yes, it's a hell of a scary. But if you don't, then it's cool. It's tense and intense.
Okay,
that's good.
All right,
really liked it.
There you go.
Watch Sinners, everybody.
Film reviews on this.
We could do another podcast on film reviews or on TV program reviews, because that's what I've been doing for the last 4 weeks. I've just been watching telly because I can't do much with without my hand, rather.
And you know what? There's so much on TV. There's almost too much. It's like a decision fatigue nightmare for anybody with like any neurodivergence of any kind.
Yeah.
But let's talk about other stuff more related to the podcast.
To our podcast. Good idea.
So we were thinking about food. Talking of TV, I watched Dragon's Den last night. I quite like a bit of Dragon's Den. I'm not that fussed on Stephen because he's very anti-sugar. And there was another entrepreneur that came on who was Northern Irish. And she was trying to sell these amazing oat to go things. Like instead of protein bowls, having like an energy bowl that's made with oats, so that energy actually it lasts a bit longer. So I know if I have a bowl of porridge, it fills me up for a bit longer. I have a bit more energy rather than like a bowl of Rice Krispies or Cocoa Pops or anything like that. So, and she was making great points. She was kind of talking through the nutrition side of it, but then they tested these amazing little bowls, and they were all like, wow, those are the best things I have ever tasted. But maybe they're too good. They might be just too good. And then they started looking at the sugar, and then they got really worried about the sugar, which actually wasn't very high. It was probably low to medium. But and the fact that they went, oh, that tastes really good, and then they said, all of them, oh, that means it's probably really bad. What the crap is happening? Honestly, so they assumed because it tasted nice, they wouldn't be allowed it. They don't have permission to have it, and they didn't want to invest because obviously that means it's bad. And people right now are not wanting that. Now that to me, that's really quite sad.
Yeah.
And this is a product, and you as a nutritionist, I'm obviously in the exercise game. But, talk to me about why we're all so terrified of sugar at the minute, Ella, and why it's actually not going to be as harmful to us as everybody on the internet seems to be telling us.
Yeah, I feel really sad for this entrepreneur who's actually produced a really cool product that tastes good. And I mean, I don't know, that's like a completely perfect example of where the narrative is now, isn't it? That episode, because it's like, oh my God, that tastes good. Oh no, we can't eat that because it's got too much sugar. And I'm really sad that, even the dragons are a bit like, oh no, we can't invest in it because no one will buy it because everyone is so anti-sugar. I mean, there's so much wrong information out there with sugar being addictive, sugar being toxic, sugar leading to inflammation, all of that nonsense, with no scientific basis to it. But it's just become so ingrained in people's heads that, oh, you must not eat sugar because it's bad for you, that we kind of lost track of the actual science, right? Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
me sad because, that's the kind of narrative that our children grow up with and therefore sort of learn to be scared of certain foods, which is absolutely unnecessary.
So basically, what you're saying is that we can have sugar as part of our diet without any problem.
Yeah,
Obviously,
absolutely.
obviously, if you're a diabetic or pre-diabetic, you've got to
Yeah.
maybe track the amount of sugar you're having or track how you respond to sugar. Would that be a better way of saying it?
Yeah, yeah. I don't like the term pre-diabetic because in theory we're all pre-diabetic, but I just think that
I know what is that a recent development? That seems to
yeah,
be
I think it is.
everywhere,
I
everywhere.
think
Oh,
so.
so many of my friends are like, "Oh, I'm pre-diabetic,"
Yeah.
and I'm like,
It just
"What
means
does
that
that mean?"
your glucose is a bit higher than normal, and I'm using air quotes for normal because again, there's variations amongst people. But anyway, so it means that you might want to keep an eye on it, and there is more of a risk that you become diabetic if that
Okay.
trend is continues, if that makes sense. So I would say if you are diabetic or if you are struggling with higher blood sugar, then you don't have to not eat. You don't have to completely cut out sugar from your diet at all. But you may just want to be a little bit more careful and sort of keep an eye on how your body actually responds to it, because again, that is very different in different people. But generally, if your blood sugar levels are high, you may want to eat sugar with other things that stop that glucose spike, or you might want to cut down a little bit on it. But yeah, I mean, that's an individual kind of recommendation that I'm not qualified to give here on the podcast. But generally, for the general population, sugar in and of itself is not harmful. Full stop.
But it's also how does your body use sugar if you ingest
Mm.
it? How does it break down sugar? Like if I eat coconut sugar or if I
Hmm.
eat organic Manuka honey versus
Mm.
granulated sugar
Mm.
out of a packet. What does your body go, oh my goodness, we can't have this sugar, but this one's okay. Or does
No.
it break it down?
Your body
Yeah,
doesn't give a shit where that sugar comes from, to be honest. You just it does the same thing. There's no sugar, whether it's honey, whether it's syrup, whether it's from a spoon out of a packet. It doesn't really matter. It's the simplest form of energy your body can
yeah,
get, because your body doesn't have to work on it to break it down. It's literally like, oh, thank you so much. This is easy to use. And I'm just going to
yeah.
convert that straight away into glucose. So, there's people feel like if they're eating honey or,
I
agar
know.
syrup or all those kind of things, they're doing something good and they're being healthier. But at the end of the day, in terms of how your body responds to that food, it is pretty much the same. There may be a tiny
And
difference, but not enough to make it a food worth replacing with something else.
there's a lot of information about these, blood sugar spikes, and you've got to
Oh,
avoid,
yeah.
the
Oh, the glucose
glucose
goddess.
goddess.
Oh,
But surely that's common, and that's just part of our biology and
yeah,
our physiology. That's just what happens
exactly. You
when
eat
we eat
something.
food, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Exactly that. Your glucose spikes after eating and it goes back down after you've been it's been digested. It's just normal. And these CGMs, these continuous glucose monitors, they're put the fear into people because they think, oh my God, there's something
Hmm.
wrong with what I'm eating because I've got all these spikes, but it's a normal bodily response to eating food.
Those are the worst kind of trackers I can
I
imagine.
know, I know.
Because people are
Yeah.
not, are people being educated as into what is a common blood
Well,
sugar
I
spike?
don't
Why
know actually. Yeah. I don't know.
are
I
they?
I
It
suppose it
just it
depends on
seems
where they
like,
get it from.
but we have spoken before about ketosis and how actually your body is in survival mode rather than thriving when you're in
Mm,
ketosis. And your body's very adaptable, but it doesn't
mm,
want to
no,
survive on ketones. So that's
no.
kind of when you do no sugar, isn't it?
Well,
Ketosis.
it's very difficult
Or
actually
is
to
it?
get into a stage of ketosis because it's basically when your body starts eating itself. It's using
Oh,
stuff. It's using things that are not energy foods, like your carbohydrates. So you have to be really strict with not eating any carbs to get into that pure state of ketosis. The keto diet is a bit sort of depending on how strictly you follow it kind of leads towards that, but it's not a good thing because your body's eating
no.
itself.
I
You
know.
don't
And
want to
this
do
is,
that.
and so I think what we're demonizing sugar because in the 90s we demonized fat, didn't
Mm,
we? And
mm,
then we demonized carbs in the
mm,
2010s.
mm,
And now it's sugar, isn't it? Because
mm,
all of the low fat products in the
mm.
90s and the 80s were full of sugar,
Yeah,
absolutely full of sugar.
yeah.
But it was all about the fat. So we felt if we eat too much fat, that's going to make us fat. And
Mm,
then we thought, oh no, it's now sugar that is the demon, the
mm,
enemy.
mm,
And obviously, carbs and sugar have a relationship. But it
mm,
was, do you know what I mean? And I think it is a trend, isn't it? That it kind of
mm.
jumps from one thing to the other. And we're not really, we're just, it's misinformation across the board, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's just it's all marketing, isn't it? A lot of the stuff that is being sold to you has got someone wants to sell you something basically, and that's where all of this stuff comes from. We're bored with one trend, we need another trend. We need to make some money. So I think it's one of those really frustrating things where we're looking for a new scapegoat or we're looking for the next diet trend, we're looking for the next yeah, the next new thing that we can jump on and practice. There she is.
Sorry. Sorry,
For
cat
anyone on
issues.
YouTube, I was just talking to a wall for a
Yeah.
minute.
No, it's cat issues. We don't have a cat flap, and our cat is a
Oh,
bit
does she want to go out?
not the brightest, let's face it.
Yeah.
And yeah, she just
Yeah.
gets a bit lost and on roofs and that
Oh,
kind of stuff. So she's
bless
a
her.
bit
Don't we
annoying.
all when we're trapped in the house?
Don't know.
Uh,
But yes, so what were
yeah.
you saying when I was away? Sorry, lovely people.
Yeah, just that I think it's a lot of it has to do with marketing and that we just need a new trend when we get bored with one, we want something new. And I think because we don't have all the answers, especially in nutrition. Nutrition is a reasonably young science still, and we really don't know an
Okay.
awful lot. And I feel like because we don't know an awful lot, we come up with all of these theories that maybe sound interesting and sound plausible and maybe even sound logical to a certain extent. But I feel like there's a lot of theories out there being marketed as the truth when there is absolutely no evidence for them. And that's where we get into this nutribullox stuff where people say sugar is toxic, sugar is addictive. If we move away from sugar, we can go into all of these supplements, or we can go into, or you must not eat this, or these are the five foods that you should avoid at all costs. It's nonsense because it's taken out of context. All of it is taken out of context. Sugar
Yeah.
can lead to addictive kind of behaviors, but the problem is that it gets mistranslated into sugar is addictive. The kind of behaviors that you display basically are because you're either restricting food full stop or you're restricting sugar in particular. And that's when you have these behaviors that feel maybe a bit urgent, a bit like you're
Yes.
overeating on it, you're eating more than you want, or that kind of stuff. And when you look at the studies that are behind this sugar is addictive message, they're usually rat studies. And if you deprive a rat of food and then you offer a group of rats free access to sugar
That's going
pellet,
to be the ones that are the most easy energy, isn't
of
it?
course,
The
they're going to go
easiest
straight for that because
ones
they
to
feel
break
like
down. Yeah.
that's exactly that. So I
Hmm.
think what we really need to realize is that all of these messages are taken out of context and they're basing the claims on what sounds logical, but without actually having any evidence for it. Does that make sense?
But I mean, it's quite a serious thing that we're
Mm.
now all obsessed with sugar spikes and we're terrified of sugar and any food that
Mm.
might taste good
Yeah, I know.
because, we don't want to actually put sugar in our bodies. And,
Yeah.
you find yourself, it bleeds into your own,
Mm.
if I really wanted like a latte with some vanilla in it, which is
Hmm.
very sweet. And
Hmm.
then I went, maybe I shouldn't do that because
Hmm.
it's lots of sugar.
Mm.
And I really had to go, Christine, you really want that? Looks
Hmm.
delicious.
Hmm.
Have it.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And
No.
you've got to talk to yourself around these things. And we're not sitting here going, eat all the sugar in the whole world. But
No.
as intuitive eating counselors, we kind of subscribe to gentle nutrition, which is once you've actually given yourself permission to eat, you can start looking at what foods are nutrient dense and what
Mm.
will serve you in your diet, what will make sure you get all the nutrients you need, but
Hmm.
also feed that satisfaction and taste.
Yeah.
You have to be able to feel satisfied with the food that you're eating, enjoy the food that you're eating. That's a
Mm.
huge part of it.
It's
Do you know what I
massive, isn't
mean?
it? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's this is the thing that we kind of overlook because I think the focus is too much on nutrition and maxing it and getting the most out of what we eat because there I mean, I suppose when we restrict, we are quite limited as to the amount of food we get. So on top of that, we are then overly focused on the nutritional benefit of that food. So if satisfaction and pleasure and joy is completely out of the window, isn't it? And I think that's very sad. Like your story with the Dragon's Den person, where they said, "Oh, this tastes amazing, best thing ever," and then, "Oh no, we can't have it because it's too much sugar." So joy got cancelled. The
Yeah.
enjoyment of that product got it was not relevant to whether this would get investment or not. And I feel like that's how a lot of people eat these days is like, I really want that, but I'm not having it. Like you with your coffee, I really want that vanilla syrup in my latte, but there will be probably 9 out of 10 people who'd say, no, I'm not allowing myself to have that joy with the coffee. I'd rather have it bitter because I'm worried about that extra sugar in my diet, which is really sad, I
And
think.
the sad thing is you can get vanilla-free syrup or sugar-free vanilla syrup, and it's horrible.
Yep, tastes
It's
ugh.
horrible. It's got
But
a
this is the
real
thing with a
bitter
lot of foods
aftertaste.
now. Yeah, yeah. So many
Gross.
foods have got now that, as you said earlier, all the fat-free stuff had loads of sugar in it. Now the
Loads of
fat-free
sugar.
stuff has lots of sweeteners in it, so it has literally nothing left in it that's enjoyable.
So,
Because
but also
fat
like it,
carries flavor and sugar is flavorsome, and these sweeteners just, I don't know, they just don't do it, do they? They don't give you the
no, they
same.
really don't. And British Bake Off. I'm saying British Bake Off in case we have any US listeners. But it is full of cake
Hmm.
and a joy. If it was
Mm.
full of like low fat, frigging, carb free, like low sugar, no, nobody would want to watch it because
No.
it's just it's a not I mean that's that word decadence, but it's the indulgent feeling around it. You really want it. It's like that sumptuous, it's just
Mm.
gorgeous, that lovely chocolate and it's just smooth and the textures. It's if it was
Mm.
all low fat, low carb, low sugar, it would just nobody would watch it. It would be utter
No.
crap.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Everyone would want to order it, but no one would want to watch it and there would be lots of soggy bottoms for anyone who's watched it
Soggy
before.
bottoms.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
the cake
But
just
it's
won't rise
also
properly.
baking. Baking. Is, imagine fresh scones from the oven I mean,
Mm.
I just remember going to visit friends when I was a little child and
Hmm.
in Scotland, and the mum baked fresh scones with homemade raspberry jam with all
Mm.
oh my goodness, and put like butter into I have never tasted something so delicious straight from the oven.
My
And that
mouth
would be
is
something
watering.
that you would deprive yourself of because you're like, oh no,
Mm.
I can't have sugar in case my blood sugar
Mm.
spikes.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, I find it really sad.
Yeah. No, it is very sad. It really is. I mean, just to go back to to that gentle nutrition, which is the final principle of
Yes,
the intuitive eating principles. And it is there for a reason. As you said, there's once you've given yourself permission to eat, once you've found the way of, eating when you're hungry and knowing your fullness signals and all of the other principles of intuitive eating, gentle nutrition comes in right at the end because it's very, very easy to go back to strict rules around food and what you can and can't eat. But when you do all of the work about around, giving yourself permission to enjoy all foods, you are more likely to understand what your body likes, what your body enjoys, what you
yes,
enjoy, what your body needs as well. You understand cravings, you understand hunger signals a lot better. And then gentle nutrition just means that nothing is out of bounds, but certain foods just feel better in your body, just
feel
like
better.
certain
Exactly.
amounts of food feel better in your body. And then you can eat all of that food without judgment. And I think that's the key, isn't it? It's that lack of judging yourself for eating something, and actually focusing on how much you enjoy it. And you will, honestly, you will not only enjoy cake. And I think that's what people are
Mm.
really worried about when it comes to gentle nutrition. They think, oh, I'll just eat all of the donuts and all of the cakes and all of the chocolate, everything that, you know. If that is your worry, you need to go back because you haven't given yourself proper
Exactly.
permission to eat. So,
I have a sort of a question as well. So for anybody listening who doesn't really know intuitive eating,
mm,
there's something called habituation,
mm,
which is if you have a food that you're kind of worried that you're going to go mad on
mm,
and not be able to stop eating, it's kind of having it in the house and
mm-hmm.
rather than never having it in the house, it's having it in the
Mm-hmm.
house and understanding you can have it at any time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like because you don't have that, you don't need to eat it all now. You
Mm-hmm.
know when you get in the thing, I'll just eat it so it's not going to be in the house anymore, and then I
Mm-hmm.
never have to. If it's in the house, you can have it when you want, and you know that you don't need to eat a huge piece because then you can go
Yeah.
back tomorrow and have some more.
Yeah.
You can also have a huge piece if you're in the mood for a huge piece. But I
Yeah.
do. Is there any foods that you have any issues with? Because I wanted to use an example for people because and see if you can talk me through this, Ella, as a
Oh.
intuitive eating person.
Well, you are
Um,
an intuitive eating person. I loved how you explained that, and I love that print that sort of technique of habituation, and it's worked literally every single time I've done it with a client. They were astounded,
so
but you
this is
need to let
I
yourself in for the
I
ride.
know. So I'm obviously there's some missing little missing link because I'm really good with most like everything can be in the house. It's not a
Mm,
problem for me.
mm,
Brownies that you bought me, that's all good. They're, I'll have
mm,
a bit every day and
mm-hmm.
I love them. Um, but I have an issue with peanut butter and almond butter and
Do
any
you?
basically any nut butter, yeah. And I end up throwing them away because the thing is I really crave it.
Mm.
And I know I'm allowed it, and that's not my problem, but my tummy doesn't like it. So I end up
Oh,
having digestive issues.
okay.
So I'll go at the weekend, I'll go, oh, I'll just get a little pot and I'll just have some because I
Mm,
love it gives me I especially if I've done activity or exercise, I'll come home and I'll want some almond butter and
mm,
just a little bit on my granola, lovely.
mm.
But I can't, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I think
And
that's separate,
it's
isn't it,
just one
from
of those, yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm
But
interrupting.
I also want to have a massive helping of it. So
Mm,
that's probably why it's not my tummy doesn't it doesn't work for me because it doesn't feel good in my tummy.
mm,
And I know that,
mm,
but I keep doing it. So it's like I think this is something I just need to sit down with myself and
mm. Is
but
there
it was
part
trying to
of you
give an
that's
example.
yeah, is there part of you that feels like, oh, it's butter, it's not a good food for me? Is there a little part of you that still thinks of it as something that you shouldn't be eating too much of?
I don't know. I don't
Mm,
know. And that's something that's why I was trying to
mm,
you were talking about habituation and at what point in your journey do you start habituation? Do you need to have given yourself full permission
mm,
and then start, or do you know what I mean? And I know Evelyn Tripoli, who's the OG, the creator of intuitive eating,
mm,
along with Elise
mm,
Resch. I know that she says do them in any order. They don't have to be in order,
mm,
the principles,
mm,
but Do you know what I mean? At what
Hmm.
point should you start introducing those foods back in?
Mm. That's a really good question.
At what
I,
point in your
yeah,
journey?
I would completely agree with like you can
What do you
just
think?
do any kind of principle in whatever order, really, in theory. But I would say, in terms of habituation, you need to be in a place where food isn't overwhelmingly scary anymore because
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever suggest this to someone who's come fresh out of an eating disorder, who has got loads of anxiety around food and eating, who has a really, really tricky relationship with food and eating. So I wouldn't suggest it to do that habituation exercise then. It's a really good one when you feel a little bit more established in your intuitive eating journey and you feel a little bit more safe and less anxious. And I would say that, yeah, I would say for you with the nut butters, I explore that a little bit and sit with it, but
Mm.
also you have full permission to eat it. And it doesn't mean that your body enjoys it very much because if it gives you
Yeah.
digestive discomfort, I had this kind of thing with one of my very first clients, actually. She was giving herself permission to eat dairy foods again because she really loved them. And cheese in particular was a bit of a fear food. So we got to a place where, she could have that again. But she says, actually, Ella, it doesn't agree with me. My stomach goes nuts when I eat dairy. And I said, okay, well, think of it as you have permission to eat it and you don't have to eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to eat it only because you have permission to eat it. I hope that makes
And this,
sense.
I think that is key because there's a bit of me that goes, I know this is a really calorific, fatty food that I
Mm-hmm.
love,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm giving myself permission to have it, but every
Mm-hmm.
time I have it, so I could, and I feel I should be giving myself permission. And here we
Mm-hmm.
go with the shoulds, and you're
Mm-hmm.
getting into that kind of weird
Mm-hmm.
grind that you feel
Yeah.
you should be having this food because it's calorific and, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but you don't need to. You can choose something else.
Yeah. You can choose something else
And I
that your
think,
body feels
yeah,
happier with that doesn't give you
yeah,
the runs or whatever it does. And I think also, when you crave something that is quite calorific, maybe you just need to eat more. You need to
yeah.
eat more
And
food of something else. Who knows?
and
I think
yeah,
it's a trial and error kind of thing.
absolutely. And it is what is behind the craving.
Mm. Yeah,
And it
exactly.
is, and I do think you're going to come up against stuff like this
Mm-hmm.
once you start kind of introducing foods back in that you haven't eaten previously.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but it's definitely worth the effort because there's so many foods now that I eat without any. Do you know what I mean? I joyously eat that I
Mm.
used to be absolutely terrified to eat.
Mm.
Um, even in the last few years, so that, since we started sort of working together and since I became
Mm.
an intuitive eating counselor, I've introduced so many more foods back
Mm.
in that I was always scared to eat. And it
Mm.
turns out there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be afraid of. And it's kind of when you eat them, you go, oh, nothing happened. I'm still here. I'm still okay. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
When you take foods out of your diet because you think, oh, actually, they're delicious, but I can't have them because they're too calorific or, they're bad for me, whatever narrative you want to use around them. Um, and then they come back into your life and they're just a normal, you can have them any time. Is there a sense of deflation because oh now this thing that I had put on a pedestal that was this thing that was unreachable is now in my life? Is there a sense of okay, that's a bit okay?
No. And
No.
that's interesting because I know that habituation also often comes with people going, didn't really like it that much anyway. It wasn't that amazing. It wasn't,
Exactly,
I
yeah.
love it all. I
Yeah.
love it. Like
Oh, that's nice
especially
to
the
hear.
chocolate coming.
Mm,
There's not a day that I don't have chocolate. I'm a very much a
mm,
chocolate person. And bagels, things like bagels. I'll never get tired of
mm.
eating bagels. Never.
Love a bagel.
And toasted bagels with, this is the thing, it's not, never got to a point of, oh, it's just boring. But I
Mm.
don't feel an urge to eat loads and
Loads
loads
of
of it
them.
because I know I can have it at any
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it has that feeling of like, oh, I can't wait to have it.
Mm. Yeah,
So I
because you allow
definitely,
yourself to have it when you want it rather than, this is the special food that I can only have on the 3rd of March or whatever, right? It's
yeah,
something that you can have
what
any
about
day.
you? When you started intuitive eating, was there anything you were cutting out? Was there anything that you weren't eating?
Probably not at that stage. I think a while back, I probably would have been off that if I don't have it in the house, I won't eat it kind of mentality, which I changed and I fought hard in our household because my husband's a bit more like, oh, well, if we haven't got it, I won't eat it kind of thing. And logic, this goes back to, yeah, certain things are very logical. Of course, you're not going to eat it when it's not in the house. However, it's not helping your relationship with that particular food if you ban it
Yeah.
from existence, right? So I don't think I have anything that I wouldn't have in the house. And I can really tell how I go through phases of wanting a particular thing. Like I go through phases where I just want to have crisps every lunchtime. And then I go through phases where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't fancy that right
You
now.
don't need them.
No,
Mm.
I don't need them. Or I go through phases where I like a particular kind of chocolate or biscuits or some. And then, today is a day where you could give me a whole tray of biscuits. I'd be like, yeah. But if you give me a bowl of crisps, I'd be like, all right, I'm having some of those. So it really depends. And I don't know if I haven't checked why that is. But
And
because
do
I
you,
allow that to be in the house, I have access to it if I want to.
so
If
this
that
is
makes
interesting
sense.
because a lot of people I think who don't have eating disorders or
Mm,
disordered eating in their minds anyway,
mm,
have food rules. Have
mm,
food rules. So
mm-hmm,
like Dan Harris, when he was
mm-hmm,
interviewed, or when he interviewed Evelyn Tribbley, he didn't
yeah.
have dessert or he didn't have any sweet stuff in the house that he wouldn't eat it, but
Mm-hmm,
he just thought he was being good and being
mm-hmm,
healthy. He
mm-hmm,
didn't think there was anything wrong with that
mm-hmm,
or that he had any kind of issues with around food.
mm-hmm,
But his relationship with food was obviously struggling.
mm-hmm.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It wasn't a healthy relationship with food.
No, no. I did this is something I stole blatantly from somebody else, but it was a quote that said, um, there is no food unhealthier than an unhealthy relationship with food. And
Yeah,
I loved that
absolutely.
because there isn't. Um, Again, it's just when you take things out of context. So if you have a meal and then you have a dessert, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing right with it. It is just what it is, really, to be honest. But if you deny yourself desserts on the grounds of, oh, I'm being good, I'm being healthy, that then has an effect on your relationship with food because you feel worried about something. For some people, that's where it stays. For some people, it can tip over into food anxiety or even an eating disorder like orthorexia
Yeah.
or into anorexia.
Orthorexia. Hmm.
Exactly. So I think we have to be aware of that happening for a lot of people. And I feel like this is where gentle nutrition is the real opposite to all of this nutrition advice that we're getting on social media in particular that isn't actually sound evidence-based advice that is based on spurious kind of studies or not even that, just like what makes sense. And I feel like this idea of no desserts. I don't know if you remember when I started in nutrition, I was actually working in public health nutrition and I was working with schools. And there was this massive Jamie Oliver campaign for school dinners to be healthier. And there were so many people who said, why do we even have desserts? We don't need to have desserts. And
Mm.
yeah, strictly speaking, we don't need desserts if we have enough for our main meal. But if you look at schools and the kind of food that children eat and the amount of food that children eat, there's a huge number of children who don't have breakfast, who have very small
Yeah. Yeah.
lunches. For them, a dessert will give them energy, will give them something that they're looking forward to, something enjoyable. You can add nutrition into those desserts to give them those nutrients that they need. So you can't just blanket saying, oh, I don't need desserts,
It's
desserts are
like
bad.
demonizing any food is
Exactly.
dangerous, especially
Exactly.
to the younger generation who are coming up right now, seeing all
Hmm.
of us messed up around food.
Yeah.
And, let's not talk about Joe Wicks and his killer
Oh God, no.
protein bar because, it's just
Yeah.
demonizing food is not good. It is
Yeah.
just not helpful. It is not, it's damaging. It's
That's
really
it.
damaging.
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, any food can be healthy as part of that
Yeah.
overall, you know, diet. I don't like using the word diet, but I'm using it in a
I know.
different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Exactly.
you know what I
And
mean?
I think this is one of the biggest problems with nutrition advice is that the advice that is going to serve you the best is really boring. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. It is just eat a bit of everything. Make sure
Yeah,
you listen to your body. Don't demonize any foods. Make sure you get, you know, a lot of fruits and vegetables, carbohydrates, protein, fiber. Drink plenty of liquid,
water. Hmm.
and you're fine. I mean,
And we
you
all
can't sell
know,
books and products with that message, can you? It's boring.
and it sounds incredibly, I don't mean to sound so privileged, but when you've been on holiday in France or if you've
Hmm.
been on holiday anywhere,
Hmm.
and you end up eating loads of cheese and bread, which is kind of
Hmm.
what I eat in France. There's just lots of bread and
It's
cheese.
rude not to.
You, when you come home, you just
Hmm.
want salads. Like,
Hmm.
to be honest, anytime I went to Northern Ireland, the girls have never eaten a vegetable in Northern Ireland, and that's not to say that there aren't loads of vegetables, but every time we've gone out to a cafe, there's just no vegetables. I, I don't know what, but they just associate Northern Ireland with no vegetables.
No
So
veg.
every time they come back to England, they just load up on vegetables because they're
Hmm.
just done with
Yeah.
that kind of beige food. And
Yeah.
this is your body's awareness. And this is what we are shutting down with our constant
Mm.
dieting and our GLP-1s and our
Mm.
just being hungry and pushing through or having a coffee or having your Diet Coke. You're
Yeah.
not actually listening to the signals your body is giving you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Exactly that.
mean? And obviously
Yeah.
that's not always easy when you're from an eating disorder background, if you've got a lot
Mm.
of food noise in your head.
Mm.
And that's why we do the podcast, just to basically help anybody or just offer resources or signpost people who are really struggling because it is
Yeah.
really hard
Yeah.
if you've got
Absolutely.
all of that food noise constantly. But the main thing is about feeling. So I think
Mm.
we'll end on that because intuitive
Hmm.
eating, it's about feeling it. How do you
Hmm.
feel when you eat this?
Hmm.
What feels good in your body? What do you
Hmm.
know what I mean? And
Hmm.
checking in with yourself. Am I full?
Hmm.
Am I still hungry? Could
Hmm.
I eat some more? Do I fancy that? Do you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
very different thing that what the messages that we're being sold at the minute, which is like food is the enemy. Do everything you can not to be hungry, not to eat. Just
Mm.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's about it's a learning process, isn't it? To learn to understand how your body feels with food and
Takes
certain
time.
particular foods. It
Takes
does
time.
take time. It's not an overnight thing, and you have to really actively go and shut out all of those messages that that you hear. I think if something sounds like it's too good to be true or it's too simple to ignore, then it probably you need to ignore it and it is too good to be true because the the people that talk with the most conviction about certain dietary advice, certain foods that you should or shouldn't be eating, the ones that are really, really convinced that they know, they're the ones to avoid. They're the ones to stay clear of. That's your Tim Spectors, that's your glucose goddesses, that's those kind of people who talk like they have invented it. And they have invented it, but it's all bollocks, basically. So you need to be
Yeah.
really careful that you don't fall down that rabbit hole of, misinformation and get yourself worked up about eating a brownie.
And if you need a book to read, Dr. Joshua Woolrich
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
wrote Food is Not Medicine, and
Mm.
he's a doctor and he's
Yeah.
also have got a master's in nutrition. He
Mm-hmm.
knows what he's talking about and he is
Mm-hmm.
no bullshit. Gives you it as it is. And I love that.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
brilliant.
That is a good book. The other good book, and we can link to to it in the show notes, is Butter a Carb. It's really good.
Ooh, who's
That's
that
really
by?
good. It's by Rosie Sant and Helen West.
Okay.
It's a real kind of no nonsense nutrition book. I really like that. It's very accessible.
But
So,
basically keep on going and fight this
mhm.
frigging fight the good, but come with us because at the minute,
Mm.
the cultural shift towards extreme
Hmm.
thinness and just demonizing all foods is scary
Hmm.
and it's hard to resist when you're in the world that we're in. So
Hmm.
please just keep listening to the podcast, keep surrounding yourself, especially on social media, with people who are not preaching the,
Yeah.
avoid all foods. Go
Yeah.
just really, yeah, just be kind to yourselves because it's hard at the minute.
It really is. Yep. And if you have
All
any
right.
questions about any of that, you can always get in touch with us. We're here.
Please do. Lots of
All
love,
right.
everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat to you next week.